right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking with Hannah about content creation with AI. If you've been here before, you know that I'm Camber. I'm the product marketing manager for KadenceWP. I've worked here for a couple of years. I really love the brand and what we're doing with nonprofits. And I especially love being able to talk to lots of other folks who work in different industries, but still kind of impact our nonprofit partners. So Hannah is the product expert at KadenceWP, and she has nearly 10 years of experience in WordPress and has been working with Kadence since like the literal day it began. She's worn many hats over the years, but customer success has always been her primary focus, and she's very passionate about helping people chase after their goals and set their dreams, see their dreams come to life. Hannah, you live in Idaho, and one of my favorite things about you is that you also work as a midwife. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes I feel like I live two lives. But yeah, so I work about part-time, 2/3 time as a midwife at a birth center. Pretty high volume, but yeah, so I'll be like up in the night, and then the next day I'm like helping people build websites. So it's funny. And my brain is like, it just works well having a lot of different things going on. So I kind of love being able to do both. But
yeah, it's like just having two totally different lives. It's very, it's very exciting.
Sure.
When I first learned that about you, I was like, those are like just opposite ends of the spectrum.
I know.
It's very fun.
Funny, but my brain likes it that way.
Yeah.
It's always weird to hear that I've been in WordPress for almost 10 years. I can't believe it's been that long. But yeah.
That's so long. Yeah. It's very nice though to have someone work. But it is very nice to have someone who's been on the Kadence product since the beginning, being able to just provide that historical context and also see how it's grown. So that must be very good for that team. But okay, so they KadenceWP recently launched Kadence AI. So Hannah is going to help us talk all about artificial intelligence and using it for content generation. And one thing I want to note before we get started is that I know that right now probably feels extremely overwhelming because it seems that there's like a new AI tool popping up for any manner of things like every single day. And I know there's always some questions about using them ethically, but we are going to tackle some of the foundational questions first, and then we'll dig in a little bit later. And at the very end, Hannah is going to have a demo for you. So obviously, Hannah, first things first, what is AI?
Yeah, big question. And I just also want to like reiterate what you said, that AI does feel super overwhelming. Like you can't read a blog post or get on Twitter or like be anywhere on the web without seeing a new AI tool. And it's overwhelming. And I'll just say, if you're feeling like, I don't know how I feel about this, I was there 100%. I was like, this is kind of scary. I don't know what I think. But it really switched for me as I've realized that AI is such an amazing tool and so helpful and gives us a ton of control. So I'm going to obviously dive into a lot more of how it's all of those things. But first, let me break down what AI is. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is essentially a technology that simulates human intelligence, meaning human reasoning, problem solving, decision making, things that like the early AI bots like Smarter Child would like give you these very robotic answers, whereas AI can now actually like generate human reasoning in its answers, which is pretty wild and groundbreaking. In our web creation space, we often think of it as a tool for content creation, which it is that. It's amazing at that. And again, we'll get into how we've been using it as that, but it's in no way limited. AI is being used across all these different industries, including art, healthcare, education, finance, like you name it. AI is like working, which is cool and exciting. And then one of the more popular AI tools that probably everyone has heard of or played around with, kind of became more mainstream around like 2022, I think it was launched. But ChatGPT, I felt like there was like this month where everyone was like, have you played the ChatGPT? It's this crazy thing. So it uses OpenAI, which is the same tool that Kadence uses that like fuels Kadence AI. And it is there to basically, it can actually do whatever you want it to do, but kind of one of the fun examples is you can ask it to like write a story. Like say you go to AI and you're like, or you go to ChatGPT and you're like, tell me a story about a girl and her dog. And then you'll like generate the story. And then you can be like, okay, well, actually, like, let's add some empathy in. Maybe give the girl a brother who has a cat. And then like, let's gear it towards kids from the ages of 5 to 10. And then it'll do that for you. So it's pretty wild, the content that you can generate from this ChatGPT tool, which is very similar, like again, fueled by OpenAI, which fuels Cadence. So it's kind of a long answer to what AI is, but I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. So anyone watching, if you have used ChatGPT, just put a little like yes in the chat and how you've used it. I'm extremely curious to see how nonprofit partners are using ChatGPT. Just for transparency, I actually did use ChatGPT to generate the questions for today, just because I was very curious to see how it would handle that. So I shared the blog that Hannah wrote, and I just said, I want you to generate some questions for a live stream with this guest. And then, like Hannah mentioned, it's so great for being able to go in and refine. So it spit out, you know, a bunch of questions, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to ask questions about this, or I don't want to talk about that. Can you refine this, simplify it, bring it down to a reading level of 8th grade? And add more like nonprofit related questions to it. And it was just like, sure, beep, 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 here you go. And then of course we do just always recommend that you change it based on like just your own personal, you know, way that you speak and your tone and things like that. But yeah, I just, for full transparency, just wanted to share that. I think I probably use ChatGPT in some form every single day. Just to kind of like get some ideas or check on some things and refine some content. So it's interesting. I want to just kind of take us back to Cadence AI specifically, and how it gets used for content creation, specifically as it relates to a website. So when we're talking like nonprofit fundraising and you're building your site out or changing it.
For sure. For sure. So probably everybody who's built a website or like done work on a website or even like just written content has at one point or another come up against this blank wall syndrome is what we call it. And AI, and specifically Cadence AI, helps you get over that. So when you're like writing a page or you're writing content and you just sit there and you're like, okay, I have my title and the inspiration will come. And then it doesn't. And then like it's taken me weeks to write blog posts before because I'm just like the inspiration is not there. And Cadence AI takes it a much further than just writing the blog post. I'm talking like you have a blank website with nothing on it. And you're like, well, like what colors do I want? What images do I want? Like how do I want this to look? Cadence AI does all of that for you. It really like gets you past that. We say it gets you 80% of the way, and then you can kind of filter in your own content, but 80% is huge. So I think that's like the number one lovely thing that Cadence AI does is it gets you past that blank page syndrome. I think Zach Terrell has termed it the death of lorem ipsum, which is cool because it's not like generating just dummy content. It's like actual real life content. And you're like, oh, I actually love that better than what I would write. So yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that it's when you're talking about content generation, we're not just talking about text on a page. We're also talking about the imagery and the branding and the tone and the positioning. It's not just a matter of just it's throwing some words on there without any kind of context. So that's something really important to kind of keep in mind when we are talking about content generation as a whole. Obviously, there are tools like ChatGPT, especially if you're using the free version, that it is just text generation. But yeah, as an overall content generation tool, that's usually all encompassing for what you need for your sites or blogs and things like that. So what I want to talk about next is specifically how AI can change the way that nonprofits create content online. And we have a couple of people in the chat before I let Hannah answer who have just kind of been sharing how they've been using ChatGPT or other AI tools. Kelly mentioned that they're even using it to write letters to donors, new ones, long-time donors, big donors, small donors, all sorts of different types of things. She also says class descriptions, anything creative, and each kind of like some values around their community projects. So I think that's really interesting. And J. Todd Watkins says he uses it for his doctoral research topic on nonprofit leadership. So that's very interesting too.
Huh.
What are some of the other ways that AI is kind of changing? I know we're talking specifically about nonprofits
Yeah.
here, and I think that the main message there is that it just is efficient and kind of helps you build out a little bit more of storytelling around your mission.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love those use cases. And just to kind of dive deeper into that, I think you can have an incredibly compelling idea, this nonprofit that does amazing things, and like the world needs to see it, but not have the language that's like latchy, that's bringing in an audience, because maybe you just don't, maybe you're not a writer, or maybe you just haven't quite found that way to quite hit your audience in a way that makes them be like, oh, I want to get on board with this. Even though you could have this idea that's like, this is groundbreaking. I
Yeah.
think AI can help with this extraordinarily. Like, just by catering it, you can tell the AI, I want this to be catered exactly to this people group. And like, I mean, my favorite way to use ChatGPT is like, I'll write a paragraph, send it to them, and just, can you make this a little bit better? And I'm like, oh, whoa, that sounds so much better. So I'm so excited to see how that will be used for nonprofits specifically, and like generating fundraisers and like donation asks, and coming up with like creating content that expresses why your nonprofit needs to raise money. That why is where I think AI can really, really be helpful. And I've already seen it be like, it's really cool.
Yeah, you're exactly right when you talk about the why. And I think that's something that we hear a lot from our organizations, who are typically smaller or medium-sized organizations, is that they don't have the background necessarily to know how to generate the best possible content for their donor forms, donation pages, their fundraising side in general. And there's so much information out there, and studies and research, and it's like so overwhelming sometimes about, how you can use your site to storytell. And I think you can get a little bit like lost in the sauce when it comes to things like that. So I think that having a tool that can help you, like you said, it get you 80% of the way there, and then you kind of can come in and infuse your own storytelling, infuse your own data, maybe change the tone up a little bit if it's not quite right. I think that can really, really help nonprofits who are a little bit like maybe pressed for time or resources, which we are going to talk about in a second. So among the benefits that we've mentioned, like saving time, enhancing engagement, which benefits do you think stand out the most for nonprofits, and why?
Yeah, I think that looks different person to person, depending on what your strengths are, like maybe nonprofit to nonprofit, depending on how many people you have working with you, and like where your strengths are really. Maybe you have a lot of writers on your team, so like maybe content creation isn't going to be as beneficial. And in that case, I think time is where this will be the most helpful. Creating a website takes so much time. When I used to do it back in the day, I would spend hours on one page. And then you're like, at the end, you're like, I don't even like any of this, like I'm excited to demo for you guys at the end, because it is so quick how like just to generate content through Cadence AI. I mean, it literally like is seconds, and you have this beautiful site that would have taken literally hours or days. So to get all of that time back, time is money. Time is a lot. It's like, especially in the nonprofit space, like you're constantly under this pressure to do more with less. Where I think AI can really, really be helpful. But yeah, as far as like what specifically, I think the answer to that is like different person to person. But
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The other thing that I do want to touch on before we move on to the next question is scalability with AI. So I think that's something that's really important. So even if you're just getting started, your AI tools are going to be able to grow with you. So as you add new people to the mix, or your revenue grows, AI can scale with you and allow you to still kind of hold on to that efficiency.
Absolutely.
And you can introduce new experts and things like that. So it's always something that I want to mention, is that yes, it's a great tool, and it's a really, really good tool for those of us who maybe don't have the time or the background, but it is a completely scalable tool, and something that you'll be able to use long term. It's not going anywhere. So the sooner you get on board, definitely the better.
Yeah.
So
I
when,
think that is huge because I'll just touch on that as well. Like
yeah,
a lot of people I know who run nonprofits are passion people and they're passionate
yep.
about like this thing that they're honed in on. And it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to see a broader scale. So I think AI can really kind of help come in and actually broaden that scale so that people can focus on what they're passionate about because that is so
Yeah,
important, keeping that passion,
yeah,
but
yep.
also broadening. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, as a personal note, I run a nonprofit and I am constantly like, I feel like I've got blinders on because all I'm focused on is what I'm doing. So when I was building my
Yeah.
website, I was so frustrated because I was like, this is like, I don't have time for this. Like, could someone else please do this
Mhm.
for me? I have like events to hold and like people to talk to. So just, I
Totally.
think that's a really important note. But so the other thing, and this is kind of what we're getting into when we're talking about like how you decide if AI is right for you,
Mhm.
and what to consider when adopting AI. So, how easy are tools like Cadence AI or other AI tools, and what do organizations need to consider when they're like adopting AI?
Yeah. So my first like gut reaction is to be like, it's so easy. You're gonna like,
Mhm,
it's anyone can do it. You just jump right in.
mhm,
I have to recognize that I have 10 years of WordPress experience. So I have a
yep,
bias in saying that. That said, I wish tools like Cadence AI existed when I started because it would have saved me so many headaches and just trying
mhm,
to get going. WordPress has a
mhm,
huge learning curve, which is kind of what can steer people away from it because it's pretty
mhm.
overwhelming. So people kind of gravitate more to that like Wix Squarespace because they like the drag and drop kind of approach.
Right.
Cadence AI gives you that.
Yes.
Except that it's a fraction of the cost and you're in WordPress. So you have way more
Right.
control. Everything's
Right.
open source. And like, I hate to just be like,
You
it's
own your
better, but
land. Yeah.
totally, you own it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's it's way better. So, um, yeah, I think that is a huge thing.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, like anything, when it comes to working with AI, you get in what you get out. So if you've never
mhm,
played it on ChatGPT and you've never like given prompts, then I definitely recommend doing that before just diving into Cadence AI. Because you want to be like with prompts, there's like you kind of have there's like an art to it to learning like how do I get the
mhm,
best prompt, the best content. So you want to like be descriptive but not too descriptive because that can confuse the AI. And then
mhm,
yeah, you like don't want to give too much detail. So there's definitely some like playing around I'd recommend doing. And then on another level, like if you're not a designer and you don't have a good eye for design, I would recommend
mhm,
like taking a free design course. Cadence AI
mhm,
does, like, especially if you're using Cadence AI starter templates, it will generate a beautifully designed website. However, I
mhm,
have seen people like go in and tweak the colors and tweak the fonts and add images that
mhm,
just don't look good together. And they're like, look, Cadence
mhm.
AI made my site. And yet, like, it still doesn't look good. Like,
Yeah.
that's not on us. That's on them. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a good eye for design. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'd recommend that. But for the most part, like, it is pretty simple. And again, like I'm gonna do a demo at the end. Hopefully everything goes smooth with it,
Yeah.
but I'll kind of show just how simple it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
I
give and
kind of
take
want
with
to go back
everything.
to this. I kind of want to go back to the idea of prompts that we just talked about a second ago. And something that I personally have found really helpful when I'm prompting is one, I'll either prompt and then ask ChatGPT what other information they need from me in order to understand the prompt. Or if I know I'm going to prompt it for something, but I'm
Mhm.
not 100% sure what it might need from me, I will say, okay, ChatGPT, today you're going to be a professional copywriter and we are going to write copy for XYZ.
Mhm.
What information do you need in order to write successful copy for this project? And then it will give me like a list. I'm like, okay, and I'll provide that. So it is definitely an art, and I
Mhm.
really love when people are playing with it and they're like, oh, this stinks, like it didn't give me anything, and I'm like, well, what prompt
Yeah.
did you use? And it's like
Yeah.
the most vague thing, or they're not refining, or things like that. So it's very, very the prompt, I feel like, is like just a science, and you got to play around with it to see where it fits for you and how much information
Yeah.
you need to provide. Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Oh, goodness.
Totally.
Okay. So AI generated content, and I know that we're going to get into a demo later, and everyone will be able to see like how you can kind of refine and change and do all of that. But what is AI generated content able to do as far as talking about like donor engagement and catching their interest, especially if we're talking about like first time donors? This is their first time checking out your page or the first time they've actually donated. How do we think about like content in that way?
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of going back to talking about prompts, I think one of AI's superpowers is that it can generate prompts that are catered specifically to an audience. And I think that's kind of like the big thing that's going to catch somebody is if they feel like you're talking right to them, like you're pulling on their heartstrings. And Kane's AI can help you with that. And we touched on that a little, but I would just kind of reiterate that. Like you're not outputting just this generic robotic information and just hoping that the whole world latches on. Like you're targeting an audience, you're pulling on their heartstrings. ChatGPT can help with that, and like having the right prompts can help with that. And I think that'll really bring in more donors and broaden, your audience. But all like you're broadening your audience, but you're also honing in on your audience. It's like it's a bit of both, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really great. Like what you mentioned, you're talking about storytelling. Something that we talk about a lot is social impact data. So that's kind of this marriage of like social storytelling, like this is how we're making a difference. This is who we've impacted plus data. And they like kind of come together in like a little, we love each other. And that's how you share these stories because donors, you're right. Like they need to feel an emotional connection in some way to the cause, right? Like whether that's just they love the story that you told or because someone in their life has been impacted by, whatever it is that you're working towards. But they also really, really want to know what the impact of their donation is going to be or how you've used donations in the past. So being able to kind of marry those two and being able to prompt some AI with like, I want to tell this story and I want to marry it together with this data. Help me put that together can really be helpful because I do think it can get a little bit robotic if you're trying to insert percentages or this is how many people we've helped or we changed this amount of we added this many parks to the city or whatever it is that you do. It can get a little robotic. So, and I think like we've talked about already many times is if you don't have a background in storytelling or journalism or marketing, it can be tough to know how to do that. So AI is definitely helpful. And again, we've already talked about prompting, but we can maybe dig in a little bit more if you think that there's anything else to cover. Just kind of talking about that prompting and that refining, especially when we're talking about like that storytelling aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think something you said, like a lot of people use ChatGPT and like, oh, it didn't give me the answer that I wanted. And then they're like, this is frustrating. I'm done. The best thing with AI is that you can tweak it. Like it will tweak content and you should do that. So if you have something that you're like, oh, this is good. It's good enough. I like it. It's not like you can keep tweaking. So don't be afraid to ask for small refinements. And then you can kind of pick and choose too. Like you don't have to use the exact word for word content that it's giving you, but you can allow it to be like an amazing base for what you have. And then and I feel like we've kind of talked a lot about how to generate good prompts. I really think tweaking is everything. But another thing to keep in mind when it comes to what you're outputting from AI is that you should always fact check because sometimes AI is just wrong. So if it's like generating facts, don't just use those. Like make sure that you're fact checking those. And there's some tools that can help you do that. Like for example, if you want to do research on your cause and find compelling data for your campaign, Microsoft Copilot can give you results that are linked to qualified sources. So there's a lot of resources that can help you fact check and that you can use alongside AI to make sure you're getting not just like content that sounds good, but content that's actually accurate. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it is very important to remember that AI gets trained from users and gets trained from the internet.
Mhm.
So if we don't
Yeah.
trust everything that we see on the internet, or we don't trust everything
Yeah.
that somebody tells us, it's definitely worth it to take some things with a grain of salt and just make sure that if it's spitting out facts or numbers, that we are definitely double checking. You don't want to ask ChatGPT what the increase in donations was and then just run with that. There's
Yeah.
there's tons of resources to be able to double check. So that's
So real.
absolutely important. I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's super
Yeah.
important. So the other thing that I really, really love about AI, and I actually did a talk on inclusive web content not too long ago. So I'm very excited about how AI can help with creating a more inclusive online environment. But what way does that happen?
Yeah. So Cadence AI, all the generated content from Cadence AI, so starter templates, design libraries, patterns, all of that is crafted by our team with accessibility in mind. So one of the main things that we've done is enhance the color contrast ratios. So when you insert a starter template, it'll ask you to choose your colors, and it will automatically make those color contrasts accessible. And if you choose colors that are not accessible, it'll tell you this is not accessible. Like this doesn't look good, or not this doesn't look good, but this doesn't read well for screen readers. So that's a huge, huge thing that it does. We've actually spent a lot of time building our accessibility, making it, just more accessible for everybody across the board, because our original starter templates needed work in this specific area. And we got some feedback from the community and brought in some accessibility specialists, and we have implemented a lot of changes into all of the content that you'll get. So that's a huge thing we've done. Another thing we've done is that all of the images that are generated from AI will come with alt text already added, which is awesome. Yeah, I just actually wrote a whole blog post on alt text, and I was like, oh wow, I knew that it was important, but now I feel like I know. You always learn a lot when you write a blog post on something. I was like, I learned a lot writing this post.
Hannah,
It's crucial.
for anyone listening who doesn't know
Yeah.
what alt text, can you just quickly
Oh yes,
explain what that means?
I would love to explain it. Alt text is, so you have the title of an image, which that's for the viewers, for the users. The alt text is for screen readers and for SEO. So screen readers will be able to read that to an audience who can't see, for example. So you want it to be descriptive. It's going to explain the why of an image. So if you for the featured image I used for the post, it was of a female who was typing on her laptop, and there was plants, and she was typing, and there was images she was looking at. So I described all of that, side profile of a female typing on her laptop, plants on the table. So that way everybody who was not able to see could fully understand the image that they're getting. So you want to, it's explaining an image essentially. Oftentimes I think we think of alt text as another title. And so we're just oh, it's we give very, very simple 1 to 2 words, but it should be much more descriptive. So AI does this for you, because who wants to write alt text? Although I did learn that Kathy loves to write alt text for images, which is interesting. But
Oh, that is interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
no, I don't love it. Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a big, big thing.
While we're on the topic, you mentioned for SEO, and I just do want to remind anyone who is writing alt text that the alt text is for the screen reader first, SEO second. So we're just always keeping that person in mind. It's always a person first endeavor.
Absolutely.
So just keep that in mind. And then what about this, headers, things like that, when we're talking about these accessibility things?
Yep. So all the markup is semantic, meaning so when you let's say you import a starter template, you'll get an about page. Your about page isn't going to have an H3 header followed by an H2 followed by an H5. It's all going to be semantic. So you'll have H1, H2, H3. So that way it makes sense. And is very good for accessibility. So all of that is done for you.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. The other thing about AI that is super helpful is that it can improve online visibility as far as search engines go and user experience. So how does AI go about improving those things?
So it definitely can help, because it's helping it's generating content, that's like relevant to your brand. You're giving it the prompt, so it's generating content that's all relevant. And relevant content
Mhm.
is helpful for SEO. However, I
Yes.
will say that it is not an SEO tool. So it's not like counting keywords. It's
Mhm.
not like adding links. Link building is huge for SEO, and it's
Mhm.
not generating links. So that's on you. Keywords are on you. We get you 80% of the way to like make it good, but you have to be the one that's doing the work. That's up to you. It does generate alt
Yeah.
text, which is again good for SEO. You're also getting
Mhm.
images or titles for your images, which is awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely also recommend having tools like using tools like SEO, like Yoast or like Rank Math to make sure that your content is that you're getting proper keywords in, and links are like big for
Yes.
SEO. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So I am actually going to drop in the chat. We highly recommend Yoast as your SEO tool. And we actually created a workbook with them that will kind of help walk nonprofits through using SEO best practices. We're getting ready to add a chapter on using local SEO. So there will be an update soon. So I'm just going to drop that in the chat in case you're, curious. So we're going to do that. I'm also going to drop in the chat just to kind of go back a couple questions when we were talking about accessibility and contrast for colors. If you are not using Kadence or Kadence AI, there's a lot of tools to check your color contrast, but I'm going to drop one of my favorites in the chat. And you can just go in there and add your hex codes or whatever color things that you use, and it will check that contrast for you and recommend different colors or let you know like, yes, this is good. No, it's not. So that's something to keep in mind. Hannah is going to get ready to share a demo with us. And I just want to remind people as she does this demo, we are going to have an open question answer period after the demo. So if you have questions about AI in general, Kadence AI, content generation, do you guys hear that? Is that me? Weird.
It could have been on my end. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. I was just making sure I wasn't like making it up in my head. So there will be a Q&A after the demo. Feel free to ask any questions. If we cannot answer a question, we will let you know or possibly be able to follow up later. But yeah, so there will be a Q&A. So Hannah, are you ready for your demo time?
Yes.
Yay, I'm so excited. All right, let's get going.
Okay, so I just have a blank WordPress site here. And I'm just going to show you how easy it is to add Kadence AI. So basically all I have on the site, I have Kadence theme installed, and then Kadence starter templates, which is its own plugin, and Kadence blocks. So I'm going to go to Kadence starter templates. And I'm just going to say I get so nervous about doing live demos. So here we go. We'll just see how it goes.
You never know what's going to happen. So that's fair.
You never know. But when I did this last night, it was perfect. So,
Flawless. Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay. So click next here. This is your wizard. So this is where you're going to add in your prompts. So my site's in English. I am an organization. And then I'm just going to kind of make up a like a nonprofit site. So I think I decided to call this Waves of Hope because that sounded fun. And service area, I'm going to put San Diego because that sounded warm, and I live in Boise and it's very cold. And there's also waves in San Diego, which is helpful. And then my industry is nonprofit. We'll just put that. And then next. Okay, and then here you would add in a description. So I did write up one already. Man, where did that go? Here it is. Okay, so this is just like a brief description. I had ChatGPT actually write it for me. I just obviously gave it some prompts, and it was like, basically, I was like, okay, let's create a nonprofit that works with underprivileged kids, teaches them how to serve, teaches them, like makes them feel loved, makes them feel ministered to. That was kind of my premise for this nonprofit. I was like, that sounds like fun. I used to live in North Carolina, love surfing, love working with kids. So here's my fake nonprofit that we're starting. Next, and then now we want to add keywords. So a lot, like there's lots of suggestions here that you can use. Like that sounds great. Surfing, positive change, joy. I'm gonna add in like maybe sunshine because I think I want like a beachy themed, some beachy themed outfit, you know. And then let's see, maybe surf school. Yeah, that looks good. And then for the tone, I'm gonna say friendly because I want it to feel like outgoing, happy. Okay, next. So now it's gonna generate images for me. So then I can come in and like tweak some of these images. So like these don't fit as well, but I love the surfing ones. Like those are fun. And here you can like, I probably needed to edit my keywords a bit to make it more like, it's kind of got a lot more, I want more outdoor stuff, you know? So we can tweak some of this later. And then you just click that. And now it's generating my AI content. So we'll see what I get.
On average, how long does this take? Just a minute or two?
It's usually a minute or
Or
two.
does it depend? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, it's usually about a minute, but sometimes it's longer depending on. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe your internet connection. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's coming. So we are. I'll show you in just a second. But we are working on a starter template that will have Give already integrated. So the next portion that it will take me to is where I'll get to choose a starter template. And there will be one for Give. And then all you have to do, okay, here we go. So like these, there'll be one that's like Give specific or a nonprofit specific. It'll already have Give implemented. So that was supposed to be ready today. It's not, but it's coming. But this one, actually, either of these are like, will get you set up very, very well for what you need for a nonprofit site. So let's choose this one. I like the way this is looking so far. And then you can choose a highlight color. So let's add some like brightness. And then you can choose your fonts, which I think I'll just leave these as is, but you have all of these options for fonts. And then next. And then you can select pages. So if you don't want any of these pages, you can remove any, like if you don't need a services page. If I was using WooCommerce, I could select this and then it would automatically generate demo products. And then I believe there will also be an option here where you can like choose to include a Give form for if you're using the Give starter template. So that is coming very, very, very soon. So this looks good. Next. Yes.
I was just going to say, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to touch on the WooCommerce bit. So that is still important to consider. I know that we are not traditionally selling something as far as nonprofits, but there are some nonprofits who do have swag, t-shirts, bags, whatever. We do have a plugin of WooCommerce donations for donation upsells. So they can purchase something and make a donation at the same time. But I didn't want to gloss over that. That is actually very important for any nonprofits that do have a physical product that donors can get.
Cool. Yeah. So all you would need to do in that case is like install WooCommerce, and then it'll automatically install those demo products if you want those. But you do have Give as an option here. So I'm going to have it install Give. I already have Cadence Blocks and Cadence Blocks Pro installed. You don't need Cadence Blocks Pro for AI, but we love it. You get more features with it, but it's not needed. Okay, now this part can also take a couple minutes. We'll see how it goes, but it's working its magic. Yeah.
So while we're waiting for this, tell us how the AI credit system works.
Yes.
As far as I understand, there's like a little bit of like a token or coin type thing. How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. So you get credits, and credits help you generate content. So with the free version of Kadence, you get 250 free credits. And if you want more than that, let us know. Like, we can probably get you more. We will have a way that you can purchase more if you need more. Like, if you just wanted to purchase only credits for like at cost. Like, we're not trying to make money off of credits. And then if you are a pro user, I believe it's 8,000 credits a year. And then if you have lifetime, it's 16,000 credits. There's another number in there for the essential bundle. But for the most part, we don't foresee people using all their credits. We're really generous with them. We want to give you enough so that you can like be creative and work with them. You use more credits by generating more content. So if you didn't like the content they were outputting, you could be like, okay, let's regenerate this, and then you're going to use more credits. But you should have plenty. Like, we really want you to have plenty, because we want you to be able to generate exactly what you want.
So the credits are not like the credits are not like a money thing so much. It's just the way that you get the content generated. So that's why I really wanted to touch on that. Is I don't want any confusion around the credit process. And I know that when we launched AI, that was something that we were talking pretty deeply about on that webinar too, just making sure everyone understands how that credit system works.
Yes. And we have a whole blog post that Roxy just wrote about how credits work and like how to use them. So definitely refer to that if you need, because that's very helpful, because it is confusing. But yeah, it's not like you have to have money to do this.
I will drop the docs on Kadence credits just into the chat in case anyone else is curious.
Perfect. Okay, are you guys ready to see my site that I just made?
Yes, we are.
Ta-da! Here. So here is a whole website. And because I had to remove some images, usually they would be like more variability here, which I could have just taken the time to add more. Sorry that I didn't do that. But then you've got like all these pages that have content that's, like content that actually makes sense, like empowering youth, surfing adventures, discover more. Like, it's not just dummy content. It's like, oh, I actually would use this for my site, which is so cool. And all these pages. So I want to show you how simple it is now to add in a gift form, which again, with our gift starter template, like it will have this option. But so I can go here, go to donations. And then, I want to go to add a form. And then let's just do like a generic, let's do a legacy form. That sounds great. And then, you'd add in your own information, all of that, but let's just publish it as is. Actually, let's give it a title because titles are good. Donate. All right. And then you can just copy the short code here, go into your pages, and let's just say you want it like front and center on your homepage. Maybe you're running a campaign. Just exit this. So I can add a block. And you can add the short code block and just drop that short code there, update the page, and then preview. And there's your donation form. And, you can obviously edit the margin so it looks better, but it's just right there on your page now. And that was so easy and simple. So, did not show you the front page? Oh, I'm sorry. It didn't show you because it took me to a new screen. I was like, it didn't show you. I want to show not in a new tab on this. You're like, I don't see it.
It's not here.
Let's just do this. Okay, and there's your donation form.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously we're going to edit the parameters and all that stuff.
It's going to look a lot better. You're going to add margins.
You're going to have your branding, all of that on there. But just for a quick show, all she did was do the form. Boom. It's right there, ready to go. It makes it super easy.
Yeah.
Hannah, are you going to show us how you can go in and like refine the content that they've built, that the AI has built out?
Sure. So if I want to edit this page, if you've never worked in Kadence, maybe this will be more helpful. So like, say for example, I want to like give this some margin. I can come here. I added this shortcode block into a row layout block. So then I can come in and like, here's all my margin and padding here. So I can just make this much bigger on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And then link it all. So then that'll just look better. But then, yeah, all of this content these are all blocks, all generated. So I can come in, edit this language here. I can swap out this image for something different. All of these logos, obviously, like these won't pertain to you, but you can update all of this. It's just giving you it's giving you everything you need, an outline. If you want to use some of it, amazing. But obviously, like you want to use your own images, and in a lot of ways, your own language too. But so. That's how
is
all
there
that is
a way
done.
is there a way that if it's if you've generated a block, like, you know, that first introduction paragraph to Waves of Hope, where it's kind of giving you information, can you go into that block and prompt the AI to refine that or change the tone or lengthen? Like, what are the options there?
To refine what I've already made here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
a good question. I'm not sure. I'm sure that there is a way to refine an entire starter template once it's already created.
Well, I just mean even just like a little section of what they've created.
So you would do that just by editing your pages. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So I don't mean to confuse you. So on the page you created,
no, you're good.
In that first block section, right, where it wrote up a mission statement or whatever, but they just want to refine just the mission statement. How does that work with Kadence AI? Because I know that you can tweak it like based on tone or those types of things.
Yeah. You know, there is a way to do that. And I will let you know when I figure out what that is.
Okay, that's fine. We will drop a link just in case anyone is curious, but no problem.
Oh, update Kadence AI detail. Oh, here we go. I found it.
Okay.
Did you see what I did? I'm so sorry. All right.
Okay.
So when you go to Kadence, starter templates, then you can update your Kadence AI details. And this takes you back to your wizard. So then go to about your site. This is where you can refine that.
Okay.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do that. And then you can like tweak your content again. So like say you wanted to update these a bit, like obviously we kind of had a bit more like inside images. So I'd want to add like more outside, more outdoors, more like surfy, or I guess we already have surf on there, maybe ocean. So anyway, then
so it's not like if there are things that you need to refine or you feel like maybe you didn't prompt Kadence AI quite right, you can go back to that initial page. You don't have to start all over. You can just go back and refine. And then there is also an inline editor, which Taylor has gotten to. That was my next request, is if we could go over the inline editor. But that allows you to just customize that text block directly in the page versus, you know, going back and rechanging everything. But that was my next question, is that inline editor. Do you want to demo that at all, or how are you feeling about that part?
That makes me a little bit more nervous to demo.
Okay, that's okay.
I can.
It's okay. We're actually very close to running out of time. And so maybe we can pause on that for now.
We can link to a video where we can add in the notes a link to where Ben has done a full demo of all of this. And he kind of jumps into the inline editor a bit more. I like, I would love to.
I am going
bow out of that one.
It's fine. That's totally fine. I'm going to just drop the link in here for the Kadence AI tutorial. And so if anyone wants to see more about that or learn a little bit more in depth on this demo, definitely go there. We only have like less than 10 minutes left. So if anyone has questions, we didn't get a ton of questions during the demo, but if anyone has questions, please drop them in. I'm going to go ahead, Hannah, and remove this demo from the screen. Are we okay with that? Cool.
Yep.
So one question that someone did have was, why do you have the credit process in place at all if you are not limiting generation?
It's not up to us. It's up to AI, to OpenAI specifically, because that's what we're using. So there's all these API keys and it's like, actually that's Cadence AI took us like a whole year longer to get out than we intended. Primarily because of this licensing system that we had to work with. So it's not like if it was up to us, we'd be like, here, use as much as you want. But it doesn't quite work like that because of how OpenAI works.
Right. So because it's just like kind of how you have a free chat GPT version and then the paid chat GPT versions, where the free one, you're not going to get nearly as much information or historical data. You can't do as much with it as you can with a paid chat GPT membership, I guess. So when Cadence is accessing that more robust version from OpenAPI, there are like limits to how much you can pull from OpenAI or any API. That's how that works. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers when Twitter closed their API and everyone was freaking out because it was so expensive if you wanted to be able to kind of connect with Twitter in like a zappy kind of way. So it is, I think that's something that we deal with all the time when we're talking about APIs is, you don't just get to connect to a program and not have like some sort of financial thing in place. So the credit is an OpenAI requirement.
Yeah.
So when Hannah was saying that if you needed more, that you can get them at cost, she means what a OpenAI is charging Cadence specifically per credit, and they're not making any profit off of that. Does that answer your question? If you're still watching, I hope you are. We don't have any other questions, so I'm really surprised about that. I feel like AI is like such an emerging technology that there's so many different ways to kind of talk about it. But if we don't have any questions, we will wrap up, Hannah, unless you have something else that you want to add or chat about or remind people about. If not, we can just.
I don't think so. I think just look out for the awesome, and it'll just be like fully geared towards a fundraising site and have everything that you would need. So you can literally just do what I just did, like add in your prompts. Then you have this beautiful donation website. That's going to just be so lovely. It's in the works. It's in the works. So it's very soon.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We do already have starter templates with Cadence, I believe, but not with Cadence AI. Is that correct? We do still have those like charity templates that Give is already implemented on.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a handful of like our normal starter templates before we were using AI, but yeah,
absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, no one else has chimed in, so that's perfectly fine. If you have questions afterwards, please drop them in the Facebook group. If you get a newsletter from me, I do actually write that newsletter every week and you can reply directly to me. So if you have questions, please let me know. Or if you have a suggestion for Give Live in the future, I'm always curious about what y'all want to talk about. So that again, Facebook group or reply to my newsletter, I'll always be able to see those. So that's it. Thank you for joining us. And Hannah, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you are at the birthing center today, so I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks. Happy to be here.
All righty, you guys, we are going to wrap up. I hope everyone has a great day. We'll see you later.